Tesla got even worse over the weekend. A Colorado dealership that's already been targeted multiple times by anti-Elon radicals was hit with another attempted firebombing over the weekend.
Loveland police say the arson started from an incendiary device between two vehicles. This comes after 4 similar incidents targeted the Tesla in Loveland since the end of January, with some consistencies found by LPD, the incendiary devices.
They are generally filled with gasoline and lit with wicks, and we have seen that they can be extremely dangerous to those that are anywhere nearby.
Trans activist Lucy Grace Nelson, who was arrested for attempting to burn the same dealership to the ground 2 weeks ago, was released on bond and back on the streets. I hope they have an alibi. And 4 Cybertrucks were torched in a mysterious fire overnight in Seattle. Authorities are ruling out foul play.
There's a fleet of Cybertrucks right now. Unbelievable. You've got dozens of firefighters out putting out flames, absolutely insane. Which you still see flames, but underneath the Cybertruck, the back of this Cybertruck is totally charred. The wheels have started to melt. Look at this wreckage. Twisted metal, charred remains. Look at the back of that Cybertruck. All melted.
And a half a dozen radicals were arrested for storming a showroom in Manhattan.
What the?
What the hell?
What the hell?
Who is this guy? When rabid anti-Elon zealots aren't staging sit-ins at dealerships, they're attacking regular folks who are just trying to drive around in their cars. Like this man who was driving his family around over the weekend when a maniac ran in his car and started banging on their windows. Where's the money coming from? It's making the spontaneous protests possible. The left's favorite dark money billionaire, George Soros. Since 2017, he's nearly given $8 million to the Indivisible Project. It's a group that leads nationwide protests against Musk and the Trump administration. Open Society says these claims are false, and they are not funding these organizations or these protests. But their records on their own website show the millions they've given to the Indivisible Project over the many years. A lot of these groups are climate protesters at heart, and now they're protesting the guy who makes electric cars. The media won't hold these people accountable, so maybe the FBI should check out what's going on. Under Biden's watch, the Fed spent years targeting school board meetings and placing moles in every pro-Trump chat group they could find, all in the name of stopping domestic terror. Kash Patel, this looks like domestic terror to me. Time to get inside this group. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley is here. How seriously is Washington taking these, looks like domestic terror attacks against Tesla?
Well, it ought to be serious, particularly if you follow the money, as you were just pointing out, Jesse. I mean, really, it's time to blow the lid off the dark money operation of the left. They've been doing this for years. They've been funding all kinds, whether we're talking about terrorism on campuses, the pro-Hamas terrorists, whether we're talking about these attacks on Tesla, whether we're talking about what's happened at people's homes, the justices' homes in the Supreme Court, for instance, all of that, it's AstroTurf, left-funded garbage. We ought to find out where all of it is coming from. But Jesse, I'll also say this. The left have really gotten to be a bunch of weirdos. I mean, just a year ago, they were all driving EVs and touting their moral virtue for doing so, and now they're burning down the dealerships, disrupting the State of the Union. These people are weird, and that's why the American people will not give them power.
I mean, I guess that's why they don't really care about the climate. It was never about lowering the Earth's temperature, because if you really cared that much, you wouldn't burn an electric car, Senator. What about the terror financing angle to hit them with? I mean, if you're giving money to a group that ends up using it to foment violence against people, why can't you go after Soros if he's funding these attacks?
Oh, we absolutely should. We should absolutely follow the money, and it ought to be traced all the way back to its source. And this is why I say, Jesse, the left has gotten by with this for years. This is a great project for the Department of Justice, and they ought to look at all of it. Who's funding these attacks? Who's funding the campus protests? Which, by the way, all of these campus protests, they're all organized, they're coordinated, they're funded. We ought to blow the lid off of that as well. Who was funding the protests in front of the justices' homes? which nearly led to justices being assassinated, Supreme Court justices I'm talking about. The left's been funding all of this stuff. They ought to be accountable for all of it. I love the fact that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are all about transparency. Let's get some transparency on this dark money that is literally dangerous for the American people.
Do any of these Senate Democrats that you're buddies with, do they drive Teslas?
Oh, I'm sure they do. Absolutely. Jesse, listen, no lie. I've sat in hearings and listened to them talk about how morally superior they are because they care about the climate and they're not driving an internal combustion engine vehicle. And now all of a sudden, they're probably first in line to protest. The hypocrisy is amazing.
All right. Well, at least they have their paddles. They can just paddle around in those. Not a great look, Senator.